good morning, Sister Michael Thomas.
Good morning, my dear sister.
Michael Thomas Watson.
Right.
What is the nationality of Watson?
On my mother's side is German, and on my father's side, Scotch and Irish in English.
Oh, nice combination.
Right.
Nice.
They were wonderful, loving, blessed family. They were great mother and father to us all. We were blessed.
Blessed. I know you've been blessed because you've recently gone through a major transition.
Yes, I have.
And should we spell that capital M-A-J-O-R? It truly.
Yes.
Yes. Would you like to share the excitement of that transition?
Well, first of all, I had recently been in the hospital, and so I thought it was time that I should make some kind of a decision regarding my life. And in all sincerity to my sisters that I live with, I didn't want them to have the responsibility of looking on me and checking on me every day.
And where are you speaking about? Where are you located?
I was located at St. Rose de Lima Hospital in Henderson, Nevada for 19 years. I was there and as a volunteer supervisor. So I didn't want my sisters to have the responsibility. So I felt it's time for me to make the decision to come back to my roots. So here I am.
And you came right at the snow time.
I did.
Were you happy or stunned?
I was delighted. I was delighted to see it because, I've been in the West ever since 1951, and as a result, I've hardly ever seen a lot of snow. I can remember just in one year that I was there in Las Vegas that we had snow one year, and everybody was just astounded with all the snow we had because this never happened. It happens up in the mountains, like in Charleston area. It's higher elevation. But to see, I really was thrilled to see the snow. I can say that it was good for me. A new experience.
What I think is astounding is you had just gotten out of the hospital, like on a Friday, and you were here on a Tuesday.
That's right.
Did you have elves helping you to pack?
Yes, I did. I was very blessed. I did. I had someone to come and help me to get things organized. And Sister Peggy was very helpful to me, too. She brought me over to my home.
Sister Peggy?
Colin, the nurse who came to take care of me.
Oh, yes.
And brought me back. Mm-hmm. And so I had a very lovely person to work with me. And so I had everything pretty well sorted out way before I even went in the hospital.
Is there a neon sign in front of your home right now? This is where Sister Michael Thomas lived.
I don't think so, dear. I don't think so.
But the staff at St. Rose of Lima loved you, and I'm sure they're still crying and missing you as you miss them.
I miss them very much. It's true. I had some calls yesterday. I made a couple of calls to the different stations and on the different floors, and I talked to some of the nurses, which was very, very great. I was very grateful to be able to do that, and they shared with me. When you're there such a long time with a group of wonderful men and women who are serving in the capacity that they are and helping others. And it really was a blessing to be able to speak to them yesterday. I talked to quite a few of them yesterday.
And also to leave the sisters on Church Street, or I call them the Church Street Sisters.
Right, absolutely.
And Janice Scholl came with you.
Yes.
But who did you leave behind?
Well, the sisters that I left behind were Sister Katie McGrail, and I left Sister Carol Elia.
She accompanied you here.
She did. She was very kind. She came with me, yes. I had to have chaperones, how it is. They thought I might stop off someplace else. But anyway, then, there's Sister Phyllis Socorro, Sister Vicky Del Santo, and Sister Judy Nelson, Those are my the sisters.
I think Sharon Bosler just moved there, didn't
Yeah,
she?
Sharon Bosler just moved there with Sister Phyllis. Mm-hmm.
Do you all belong to the same mission group?
Yes, we do. Our Lady of Peace. Yes, I've been in the mission group all these years. Yes, dear.
Well, when you look back on those 19 years, is there anything that stands out of this was a special moment or a significant change or
Well,
something?
when I think about the 19 years I spent there, I really feel that I was truly blessed to be there at the hospital all those years. And my ministry was very, very important to me, as it is to all of our dear sisters, wherever they may be. I feel that our ministry to others is just a reflection of who we are as this congregation and what we have contributed to everyone that we come in contact with. So that's how I look at it and everything. So
I want to know, Sister Michael, how did you arrange to live your ministerial life in the West?
Well, in 1951, I came here, and really in 1949 I left in Las Vegas to come here. My father was stationed in the military, and we were assigned there, and that's how I met our sisters. Our school started at St. Joseph, where Sister Marie Agnes was the principal.
Oh, my heavens.
McCall. She was always a very dear, dear friend to our family.
Is this grade school that you
Yes, it was a grade school.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, dear. Yes. And so I was like a chauffeur for the sisters because naturally we couldn't drive. So I would take the sisters on their different tasks and places that they had to go. And then when Mother Gerald came on visitation, and I met with her, and she knew my family situation because my dearest mother, she was not very pleased with the idea that I was going to leave. I was 22 at the time, and I had always been, being the oldest and everything, I was a big help to her. So that was difficult for her, and Mother Gerald understood that. And so when I was professed in 1951, she said, send that kid back to the West.
Meaning you.
That's right.
Oh.
After I was newly
Because she knew
professed.
this
She was
situation.
a family situation. See,
Were you stationed near your family?
I was stationed up in the Oakland Bay area and up in California. I've ministered already in California, in Arizona, and now in Nevada, my last ministry that I had.
Well, such beautiful places. Where would you send someone interested in seeing the beauty of the West?
That's a very hard question for me to ask because there are so many beautiful places that you could go to, and each of it has its own beauty and its own. So when we have a lot of people who come and visit, this is what they go to a particular place because they feel very, very welcoming, very comfortable there, and so I think it all depends on the person and everything. It would be hard for me to say just where to go, really, and everything. So,
But not the Strip.
no, not the Strip. Only went to the Strip. We only went to the Strip when, for example, sometimes we had company and they wanted to see it, or we used to have functions at the big casinos, and we sisters would have to attend those from the hospital. So,
What was life like in your ministry in California?
when I was in California, I was teaching, and also then I did pastoral care. I was in Our Lady of the Valley Parish in Hemet, California for 17 years.
Oh my.
I ministered there in pastoral care with Sister Ann Philip Cotta and Sister Margaret Sorge. We dear sisters all lived together.
Is Hemet in the north of California?
It's in Southern California, in the southern part. It's in the San Bernardino Diocese. That's where we ministered, the three of us. So it was really a wonderful spirit. And the people there were very wonderful too.
Was Hemet affected by the recent fires?
No, dear, they
Oh,
weren't.
okay.
Thank God they weren't. No, that was more of a the southeast part of the country and everything. So.
Were you fortunate to have a good pastor there in Hemet?
Oh, very much so. Father Louis Perot, very much so. Very wonderful preacher. In fact, we still keep in touch together, the two of us.
Is he someone who respected what the sisters...
He respected our sisters very, very much. He was very kind and thoughtful. And I know at one time, my dearest sisters, Anne and Margaret, they spoke to Father and told him that they wanted to return to the mother house. And he said, absolutely not, under no condition. I need your presence and I need your prayers in this parish. You are to remain here as long as you wish. That was his desire.
Wow. And they did that.
They did that.
Mm-hmm.
Till my dearest Margaret became very ill, and we brought her here, and she had a surgery in September, and then we brought her here in September, the end of September, and by November she was gone.
She had a sister in the congregation too.
Yes,
didn't
she did.
Yes.
Uh-huh. Yes.
And what about Sister Anne?
Sister Anne, that dearest sister had cancer ever since 1983.
Oh my!
I used to take her to St. Bernardine's Hospital in San Bernardino for her treatments, and she was in remission and out of remission during that period of time. And then, finally, after our dear sister Margaret passed away, which was in '96, then my sister Anne said to me, I was taking care of her, and she said, Michael, I think it's time for me to go back to Adrian. So we came back. We just got here, and she became desperately ill. And within 2 weeks, she was gone.
Well, don't you pull that.
I better not.
Well, from my observation, you are bringing the joy you gave at the hospital there in Henderson. You're bringing that to the staff here. So
well, you know what?
you.
I think it's good for us to get at and read it at a lot of times to our dear sisters, because, you know, I know that sometimes my laughter really gets people, and sometimes in the dining room I see people look over and say, "Oh, what is she doing?"
Well,
where did she come from?
You're having fun. That's the important. That's the important thing.
Right.
So, what about Arizona now? You were fortunate to be missioned there.
Yes, I ministered in Arizona, and that was another story of mine, which I enjoyed very, very much. But you know, wherever we go, we are there to the presence of the people and to do what we can for them. And to me, wherever we go, we have to spread that joy. It doesn't make any difference where it is.
In Arizona, what part of Arizona?
I was down in Douglas, Arizona, on the border of Mexico, with our sisters, and in fact, Sister Barbara Herr was there at one time, and then Sister Margaret Richard was a principal, and I was assistant principal there, and it was just a beautiful relationship that we had with the Hispanic people. We had like 97 children. I think it was around 97 children. They came to us every day from across the line and everything. So, and,
which wouldn't be
for
happening
school,
today.
For school.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
no. But it was a really it was a really a wonderful experience. I loved it down there.
Did
I
you
was there 7 years.
Did you do pastoral work there also?
No, I taught
Taught.
school. Yes, I was assistant principal in our school that we had down there. So, right. So,
And then when you lived in Henderson,
right there.
was Sister Nilda Klein there at the time you were there?
Sister.
Nilda Klein and Charlotte
Oh yes,
Francis.
they lived in Boulder City. Those two dear sisters lived in Boulder City, which is about 10 miles from us. That's where that Boulder City is. Yes.
I think what's most remarkable about your life is that you're the only one in the congregation that was born in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Every once in a while I say I'm from Oklahoma, and he said, where? And I said, I'm from Muskogee, Oklahoma, but I'm not really from Muskogee. I'm from Tulsa.
What do they call them? Okies?
Okie. Yeah, I'm an Okie from Muskogee.
Yeah. But you weren't there long.
No, I was born there. I was
Oh.
born there.
And your father what was his profession?
My father was in the military, and he was in the First World War and also in the Second World War. Dad was, yes.
And what was his profession in Oklahoma?
My dad worked for Sinclair Oil and Gas Company when he met my mother and started courting her. And then he decided he wanted to go into the Army Reserves. And from that, he went in professionally into regular Army. And he was an engineer officer, administrative positions. Where Dad was, he was always in administrative positions all of his military life. He was in 30 years.
Amazing. God bless him. What he saw,
Right.
we'll never know.
Right.
Your mother died before your father?
No, my dear. My father died. He came back from the war, and he had a very severe heart attack when he was in Europe, in England, and he came back from the military, and he was sent to St. Pedro, to Fort MacArthur for treatment, and it wasn't soon after that he retired, and they settled in Whittier, California, my mother and father. But my dearest dad, his heart condition was not good, and he passed away at the age of 64.
Oh,
But my dearest mom passed away at the age of 92.
oh my.
I lost my mother at 95. I lost my two dear sisters in 96 and 97.
Tough times.
Right.
May I ask your age?
I'm 91,
91.
going on to sweet 92.
That's a wonderful way to look at it.
I might as well think of it that way, I guess,
Yeah.
right?
Yes, without
Sure.
a doubt.
Without a doubt.
What words of wisdom would you have for our younger sisters as they find their way throughout this world?
Well, do you
of
know
ours?
what? I think for our younger sisters coming in today, I think they come in with the idea of what they can do for our congregation, what their mission will be and might be. And I just think that they have such a rich environment here with all of the wonderful sisters that have served here in all these years and ministered. I shouldn't say served, but have ministered all these years in our congregation. Many of our young people come back to us, and they are always elated over the fact is that our sisters are so dedicated. And there's something about the way that our sisters relate to other persons that is so dynamic. And I think that's why our sisters have been so well read and well educated. They can't get over the education that our sisters have received. And that's why I was so blessed, because of my education that I received from the congregation. I came in here to bring Sister Philomena and 3 of our sisters in from Juliet to drive them in for a Jubilee celebration. I was walking down the sidewalk and Sister Mary Bertha saw me, and she pulled me over and she said to me, "What is your name?" And I told her my name. And that's all I had to say. And I walked away. And so, next thing I know, 2 hours later, Sister Mary Dennis finds me, and she said, "Sister Bertha says you are to take the sisters back to Juliet tomorrow. Then you are to pack your suitcase. You are to be on a train on Tuesday morning. We will pick you up at the station on Tuesday evening, and Wednesday morning you will be in a class here at Siena."
Oh,
That was
God.
my associate with Sister Mary Bertha. So, from that very moment, I'm so very grateful to our congregation for everything that has been done for me.
So
And
you were
I'm
to
very
get your
moved by
degree.
it. I'm very moved by it. Right now,
Yeah.
it brings tears to my eyes
Yes.
because of the education that our dear sisters have received all these years, and how well known they are all over the world. Our dear sisters are known. You mentioned an Adrian Dominican to people. They say, "Oh yes, I had that sister in school," or "I was associated with a sister in the parish." I was making some phone calls yesterday, and they mentioned one of our dear sisters, Sister Barbara Run. I was thanking them for their generous donation to the congregation. Right away they said, "Oh, we just love Sister Barbara Run."
Oh my.
That's what one of the things that our sisters, many of their loved ones or persons that they've known personally, or their lives have touched in the years of teaching, they continue to remember those sisters. So it really relates how wonderful our congregation is and how well known we are all over.
And many of the donors have been educated by our sisters.
Absolutely.
And their depth of gratitude is quite extraordinary.
Yes. Yes.
I know I talked to one, he said, my first Christmas donation is to the Adrian Dominican Sisters.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Well, it's the same way. I was very fortunate to experience this too. When I was at the hospital at Rosa de Lima, I was asked by the foundation, our Rosa de Lima, our St. Rose, not Rosa de Lima, but our St. Rose Health Foundation, if I would get in and speak to the lake, our people that lived the lake and everything, and they became great donors of our hospital. I spoke to them 2 or 3 times during the different periods of the year, and then one particular benefactor, the Wheelers, they helped to educate young women who are interested in being nurses through our hospital. So it's a wonderful thing when we have all those wonderful women, men and women who donate their time from this Lake Las Vegas area, which is a very, very wealthy area. People have come from all over the country to live there because of the climate. But it relates to also the fact is that our hospitals have done so much for the community all these years.
Well, even in the recent mass shooting,
Right.
many victims ended up at our hospitals.
We helped to serve over 30-some individuals. Serious critical cases were taken to Siena, and it was really a wonderful thing. Because Sister Kathy McGrail told us about what was done there. She was there on the scene. Our sisters were called. She was called, Sister Phyllis was called, Sister Katie was called in the middle of the night to come immediately to the hospital, and then my 2 sisters were there. But it was just wonderful the way and also at our place at Rosa Lima, we took some of those patients in that were, maybe were scratched or injured in some other
Not
ways.
serious.
They were not as critical as the ones that we had at our place.
Yes, and the ones at the Siena campus, the hospital there,
Yes.
did they not? They did not charge.
No, there was
anything.
no. Dignity Health took up the expense of everything there. Dignity Health would not accept any money or anything from any of those people. It was all donated and given.
Amen.
Amen.
Yes.
Right.
Before we end our interview, I have to ask you, how's Father Louie?
He's wonderful. He's just great.
He was a blessing to the people in Las Vegas, wasn't he?
He was, and they still remember him.
Yes. Give us a little background about him.
Well, when I first met Father Lou and everything, as I said, he was the only child, and he was from back in Connecticut, in that area, where his mother and dad. His dad was in the restaurant business, and he told the story about when he was a youngster, he used to have to go to his dad's restaurant and filled jelly donuts. Said, I don't know why Dad had jelly donuts, but he did. And he was very, very small at the time. He used to have to go there and help after school, too. And then one day, a priest came, this Holy Ghost priest came, to talk to 8th grade students about the priesthood. So his mother told me, Helena told me that this tall, stately priest came and knocked on the door, and she thought he was in trouble. And so she said, yes, Father. And he said, are you Mrs. Husted? She said, yes, I am. And she says, well, may I come in? And I'd like to talk to you about your son. Well, she said, I knew Louie was in trouble. But he was standing behind the priest, and he walked in with Father, and then he told her, your son has the desire to become a priest. Do you have any objection? And she said, no.
This was the Holy Ghost?
Holy Ghost priest,
Where,
yes.
where is their
They're
center?
located, Father, pardon me, I don't know right now if he's changed his location of his provincial, but I know out in the West, he was in Houston, Texas. That's where he was, in Houston. So I don't know if that's still where he...
And he served as chaplain there, did he not?
Yes, he did.
Mm-hmm.
And you'd be surprised, many of the nurses still ask for him at times, how is Father Lou?
He became like a brother to you, didn't he?
He did,
Yes.
absolutely.
So what would you like to say to your brother as we leave our
Well,
area?
I keep in contact with him, and I also hope and pray when the time comes and the Lord decides to take me, that he'll be here to celebrate my Mass.
Oh,
That's all I ask of Lou.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
Oh, amen.
So, yes, that's all I ask of him and everything. His mother passed away at 102.
Well, you have good genes yourself, so.
Well, God, it's all up to God. It's all in God's plan for me.
Before we leave, thank you for your presence here at the
Sure.
DLC. You make a difference in our lives. So God bless you for that. And for your piles and heaps and many buckets of kindness to the people that have been fortunate enough to cross your path during your lifetime.
Well, I feel that's really been a gift to me because, and I feel that it could be instilled to you through your family too. Yes. I know my mother and my grandmother and my mother have always been very kind to other people and thoughtful of what's taking place in their life. How could they help them in some way? So that's what I've tried to do that.
And any of your siblings near
Yes,
you?
Yes, I do. I have a brother who is 84, and he lives in Tulare, California, and which is up in the northern part of it's called in the Central Valley of California. They're well noted in that area for their grapes and also for their vegetable farms and strawberries and things like that, fruits. And then my sister lives in Lowell, Arkansas, and everything. So those are the only two siblings I have left.
We send them our love and prayers.
Thank you very much. You're very kind.